I'm Joey, and this is my renovation story. Would highly recommend not living in a full renovation, but I didn't really have a choice. So I moved to Atlanta from Charlotte, North Carolina in 2020. It was right before COVID, so I got like maybe a month or two of normal life before COVID hit. It was definitely a challenging year. So I was renting a one-bedroom apartment right in Midtown, and I knew that I wanted to be in Midtown. I love being in a city, so when I lived in Charlotte, I had a townhome right in downtown Charlotte in the 4th Ward, and it was very similar to this, like a brick townhome. And so when I moved here, I knew I wanted something similar. You know, it took me a while to figure out which townhome I wanted to be at, but I eventually found this one and just fell in love with it. My realtor, Kathy, she was amazing. I felt bad. She took me like so many different townhomes, spent so much time with me, but I think that really helped me make a decision. I always knew that I loved these, and so I went on Zillow and like favorited all of the units in here. And she took me through a lot of different ones, and it just never seemed right. And so one finally came on the market at like 7 a.m. in the morning. And I remember calling her and just saying, put in the offer, like I'm ready to go. So it was crazy timing, but it really worked out. When we first walked in, after I already submitted the offer, there was a lot of things that I didn't like. Bones-wise, it was my dream townhome. It had everything I wanted, a 2-car garage, 2 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, right in the city. So the big things I knew I wanted to do was definitely the kitchen. I wanted to get rid of the peg leg island. It was also very wood textured. The appliances were a little outdated, and I knew I always wanted to put like the big vent in over the stove. So those were the main things I knew that I really wanted to focus on, was the kitchen and just making it a little more modern. But I also realized it was a lot of work. So it was definitely hard to find a contractor here, especially during COVID when everyone was doing renovations. I called probably like 10 plus contractors. No one calls you back. No one wants to do something small. Everybody wanted the big project, which is understandable, but it was frustrating. So the tile company that I was working with had somebody, and I just kind of reached out because I didn't know who else to reach out to. He was great, and so I really feel like I lucked out, especially with how crazy of an environment it was. I love the entryway. So when I first got it, it was just all black square tiles. This is the first thing people see when they walk in the door. I'm a big Kris Jenner fan, so I love how she has like the black and white tile. That was something that I knew that I wanted to do, even though it's a smaller entryway. And I remember asking like my mom and my dad, and I was like, what do you think about doing that? And they were like, I don't know, like keep it the way it is. And something told me like, do it, that's what you want to do. And I was worried that it wouldn't look good, but I went ahead and did it anyway. And it's probably like one of the happiest things I did, just because I feel like it's very unique. I think it's a reflection of me. I like simple, straight lines, black and white. So I think it ended up working perfectly with the space. So the living room had the 2 big kind of old school columns. My contractor was worried that it was like a structural column, so I was praying that it wasn't. And so thankfully when he came and looked at it, it wasn't. So we were able to remove those pretty easily. And I knew that I wanted to change the fireplace too in the living room. It had the same granite that was in the kitchen. It was like a greenish, kind of blackish, dated granite. And so I updated the fireplace, which I love. I think it turned out really good. And then painted the inside black, painted the grate black, and then added the crystal to it, which I think really kind of modernized it a little bit. And I think it also looks really good with the waterfall island in the kitchen. So I think taking the columns out really opened up the dining room. One of the main things I wanted to change here was we had like a really outdated chandelier and 2 sconces that were on that wall. So I redid the chandelier and took the sconces out and installed the museum kind of light over the pictures. And I think it all ties in together with the classic and modern at the same time. I resanded the floors and stained them all the dark brown color. It was kind of like a really lighter color wood when I first got it, and so I always liked kind of like a darker wood, and I think it really kind of brings out the white of the walls. I love the bar. I always try to pick like a piece that I want to start with and then expand. It's kind of like old school, but also modern. And so I just love how the gold looks against like the brown floor. It's just a really cool piece. So here's the kitchen. Right here is actually where my bedroom was for a couple of weeks. Would highly recommend not living in a full renovation, but I didn't really have a choice. So I had to, when they were painting everything upstairs, I couldn't go upstairs because of the fumes. So my only choice, I didn't have a couch yet, it was on back order. So my only choice was just to blow up an aero bed right in the kitchen. And I remember sending a picture to my friends and being like, this is where I'm sleeping right now. So in the kitchen, I didn't change the footprint or anything. The biggest demo was the island. They completely took that out. I always loved how like a waterfall island looked, so I knew I for sure wanted that. And then the existing granite was kind of like a dark green almost, and I knew I wanted to change that. So my mom and I went to the same place where we got the quartz for the island, and they had this just beautiful like white quartz with very thin gray lines. And it's just one of those things where you look at it and you're like, that's what I want. So we continued the quartz up the walls just because I thought it was really nice how kind of the thin lines went up the walls, and I think it kind of tied everything together. Everybody thinks I changed the cabinets, but all I did was just painted them all white and then changed the hardware on it, and it really does look night and day. I decided to put the money into the appliances versus the cabinets. I was very particular about what appliances I wanted. I knew I wanted to have kind of the open window refrigerator. It doesn't always look how it does right now, but so the refrigerator was a beast to get in here. I waited for the fridge for months and months and months. It finally got here, and they brought it all the way up to install it, and they realized that it didn't have these brackets installed, and the people who were bringing the fridge in, they didn't install the brackets, so they had to take it out, put it back in my garage. Then I have my contractor come and install the bracket. So it was a little bit of a nightmare, but I think it's the main kind of draw of the kitchen almost. So I think it was definitely worth it. When you're renovating, you always run into problems that you weren't expecting. So the hood, especially with my HOA here, you have to have it vent outside. Similar to the fridge, they come, they're ready to install it, but there was some sort of measurement mismatch and they were afraid to do it, and they said it couldn't be done. So that was like, I almost went into a spiral. And then I called another install company, and I kind of explained what was going on, and they came out and they were able to do it without changing anything. So I think like the moral of that I've learned when you're renovating is sometimes if somebody tells you no, it doesn't mean that it can't do it. You just have to keep searching until you find the right person that can do it for you. Being Italian, and my relatives always, when I was growing up, we were in the kitchen eating. So I just wanted to make sure the kitchen was something that I just felt at home in, with an island for food and the nice appliances. And kind of what I'm working on right now is some of my mom's recipes, like her meatballs. I've been doing a lot of that recently, so it's been a lot of fun. So unlike everything else in my home that's very like sleek, simple, straight lines, white, I knew I wanted to go crazy in the powder room. I kept the porcelain sink, that was the original, but I knew I wanted to update the hardware, and I knew I wanted to put in a crazy wallpaper. I just loved this black Gucci tiger print wallpaper. And I envisioned kind of doing the ceiling, the walls, everything. So I just kind of went for it, and I'm so happy how it turned out. My friends and sisters definitely love it. So whenever they come over, before we're going out, everybody always takes a stop in the powder room to take a selfie. So I'm a financial advisor, and it's kind of funny because I give great advice to my clients, but unfortunately I don't always take my own advice. I don't even want to look sometimes, but I went way over budget with this. I think it was 100% worth it. If I could do it all over again, I wouldn't change a thing. Maybe not doing it during COVID when everything's crazy with the supply chain, but I couldn't be happier with how everything turned out.